All right, ladies and gentlemen, how you guys doing on this Tuesday, April the 12th, 2022? Thank you for joining me here tonight for another metallic episode of Music of Destruction. Bringing you the very best in metal-related content right here on YouTube on one of the only metal channels you need. If you guys missed anything in the past week, click that eye in the upper right corner of the screen. Bring it down, get caught up on all of my latest videos. I would certainly appreciate it. Remember, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss anything. One of the hardest working channels in the niche of metal here on YouTube. No one's going to give it to you. Brutally honest, upfront, controversial, and opinionated the way I do. If you like that, you're in the right place. If you don't, fuck off. Welcome to Album Review Tuesdays once again here on the channel. Tonight I'm doing another member request, and this one comes from my buddy Isaac, who I thank very much for being a channel member. Tonight we're going deep beneath the earth into Texas for a look at a more modern OSDM band with Frozen Soul, Crypt of Ice. Now, this album was released in 2021 on Century Media Records. Now, before we get into the review tonight, I'm going to give you guys a biography on the band. Frozen Soul is an aptly named Texas extreme metal unit with a style that evokes the icy and unrelenting sonic assault of pioneering death metal acts like Bolt Thrower, Mortician, and Obituary, Grave, and of course Autopsy. That's kind of what I hear in this. Now, the band inked a deal with Century Media in 2020 and issued their debut long player, Crypt of Ice, the following year, which was pretty decent in of its own right as well. Now, founded in Fort Worth in 2018 and comprised of Chad Green on vocals, Michael Munday on guitar, Samantha Mobley on bass, and Matt Dennard on the drums, and Chris Bonner on guitar, so it's a five-piece. Frozen Soul debuted in 2019 with their EP, Encased in Ice, featuring 4 tracks, including a cover of Mortician's Witch Coven, which is pretty good, by the way. Now, the EP caught the attention of Century Media, which quickly added to the ascending old-school death metalers to their roster. Now, with former guitarist Daniel Schmook handling production and engineering duties, the band headed to the studio to record their full-length debut. The resulting Crypt of Ice was released in 2021. So the lineup is as follows: Samantha Mobley on bass, Michael Munday guitars, Chad Green vocals, Matt Dennard drums, and of course Chris Bonner on guitars as well. All right, so let's get into this review. The album opens up with the title track, Crypt of Ice, and we get this really dark, cold ambience that comes in nicely and really sets the tone for this OSDM attack of cold riffs, atmospheric arrangements, and powerfully constructed vocals and drum work. But it's very reminiscent of Bolt Thrower, and of course, not a bad thing at all. There's nothing here that would make me scream rip off, because when it comes to doing death metal right, I love it when bands take influences that they were inspired by. This is a powerful track with lots of emotionally charged riffing and convicted instrumentation that gives off a killer ice-cold atmospheric death metal density that gives way to some crazy mid-tempo groove and double bass drumming. This is a mid-paced death metal affair that has some great doom metal-like influences in here with some killer cold atmospheric cavernous vocals and aesthetics. This is a really good opener. Next up, we have Arctic Stranglehold, and this is a great mid-paced OSDM affair with some awesome double bass drumming, pummeling you into cold oblivion and desolation. The vocals here are amazing as well, with driving riffs that create a lot of power and intensity throughout the track's duration, and I love the uncompromised old-school approach that they bring forth through the writing and the overall goal of the music itself. This is cold, bleak, old-school death metal that takes no prisoners. Now, you can also feel a lot of power and darkness in the lyrics and the overall emotional structuring in the riffs, bass, and drum work. This is a death metal with a purpose, guys. It really is. And this is another great track as well. It really reminds me of Grave, Bolt Thrower, Obituary, Mortician, and Autopsy. As I said, great stuff here. Next up, we have Hand of Vengeance, which starts out with some cool blizzard wind in the background with a few piano notes before it explodes with more OSDM brilliance and breakneck intensity. This track is a lot faster than the previous two and has some amazing thrash-like drum beats with some awesome groove death metal guitar riffs and bass, which, to be honest, I wish we could hear a lot more, but nonetheless it is present, just not as high in the mix as I would have liked, because OSDM with really high bass is just awesome. Now, the double bass here adds a lot of destructive brutality and incredible versatility to the riff structuring and overall songwriting. Vocals are cold and low growls, but definitely not indecipherable. This isn't some run-of-the-mill death metal crap. What I really love about this band is their willingness to try new things and approach the songwriting process with an open mind, being unafraid to take a page right out of Bolt Thrower and Autopsy's playbook and the like. Great stuff here. Definitely doesn't disappoint if you love OSDM. Yeah. Next, we have Wraith of Death, which opens up with some more sinister dark ambience before it goes into its full-on triumphant old school death metal assault, which is groovy and dark with a lot of incredible emphases on the old school spirit of the 90s. And I mean, who the fuck isn't a fan of 90s death metal, especially the bands who stood out from the rest, and Bolt Thrower and Autopsy and Grave were just some of the bands who did. This track has a particular dark atmosphere and churning riffs that combine to give it a really interesting and complex listening experience. I love the groove-oriented hooks and strong power in the vocals, as well as the long, drawn-out rhythm sections that highlight the atmosphere of death and ice-cold desolation and darkness, and it works really well to blanket you in like this dark, sinister atmosphere. So guys, let's check out Wraith of Death here on Music of Destruction. Enjoy. And we are back, and yeah, this is a really, really good track as well. Next up we have Merciless, and this is a 3-minute and 33-second affair of some pretty incredible slow groove-laden death metal that really impresses me a lot. And the double bass here is immaculate and perfectly in line with the amazing riff work and song structuring, along with the desolate, cold vocal work that sounds like an undead ghoul from beyond the grave. But what I really love here is the songwriting itself. This is where we get our first taste of the blast beats on the album, and they're played very well. Nothing here sounds sloppy or out of place, and I'm not sure why so many people shat upon this album on Metal Archives. It's actually pretty damn good, and I'm becoming a fan of this album more and more as it unfolds. Pretty impressed, great track. Next up we have Encased in Ice, and well, that's exactly what it sounds like. It opens with some dark, swirling blizzard winter wind with some great ominous dark bass riffing that sets up the atmosphere and slow crawl from the cold stasis that this track brings forth. Like the frozen dead rising from an internal cryostasis that unleashes itself upon the living with only one goal. We get a lot of blast beats on this one as well that drive home its brutal, cold intensity and aggression. This is so dark and abrasive as well that it literally will have you in a head-banging frenzy. I know it has for myself. And man, this is some refreshing death metal with some black metal-like aesthetics and atmosphere, and it works well. And the band obviously knew how to combine these ideas and concepts well, because the execution is pulled off very great. This is a good track as well. Next up, we have Beaten to Dust, and this is 3 minutes of OSDM brilliance once again, and it sounds like being beaten to dust. The guitar work is grimy and muddy, drums come in clear but not polished, and that's what makes this OSDM atmospheric onslaught work, primarily because there isn't some trend they're trying to follow or work through. No, pure expressionism and a drive to create true old school death metal, and within the 3 minutes of this track we get a mix of faster tempo shifts and slower, groovy, doomy oriented riffing and drum work and vocals with some awesome vocal ranges as well. Great track. Next up is Twist the Knife, and again, another opening ambient section that has some great dark, creepy sounding, almost creature-like bellowing in the distance before it breaks into a meaty, cold death metal stomping, aggressive, chaotic affair. This is some pretty awesome, groovy, doomy death metal here, once again, with some awesome tempo shifts from faster brutality to slower groove-like chasms and cold, abysmal vocals and guitar work that really sticks with you because of how old school and powerful this track is. It's damn good, and I don't know any OSDM fan that wouldn't appreciate this or want this album in their collection. This is a good track. Next up, we have Faceless Enemy, and this is a destructive double-bass death metal attack on all of your senses that has no problem delivering pure OSDM punishment, but also groovy enough to satisfy your thirst for that 90s DM insatiable appetite from the days of old before death metal became a disgusting modern trend of mediocrity and pointless shock value and gore-related perversion and childish stupidity. Thankfully, that's not what we get here, and there's even some thrash elements on this track and album as well. Very powerful and convicted, and I dig it a lot. Closing out the album is Gravedigger, and man, this is a killer closer with some incredible songwriting and killer riffs, bass, drums, and vocal work that is reminiscent of digging up the dead in order to unleash their plague upon the world from an eternal ice-cold slumber. And the way they crafted their vision here to make some ice-cold death metal works very well. It's cohesive and convicted without any filler and uninspired ideas or concepts. Creates a very unique full-length presence in the death metal underground. It's cold, bleak, and crunchy OSDM that should not go unnoticed because it certainly stands on its own ground and is very unique. Overall, I enjoy this album quite a bit and I recommend it highly. I'll be purchasing it for sure. The final verdict for Frozen Soul Crypt of Ice is getting a 7 out of 10. This is well above average death metal. It's a great offering, so pick it up. Thank you, Isaac, once again, for requesting something that you know I enjoy. Alright, so there you have it, another album review in the books here on Music of Destruction. Hope you enjoyed the premiere. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Merchandise, teespring.com/music-of-destruction, as well as bonfire.com/store/music-of-destruction. Please go check out all my merch. Join the channel, become an MOD Elite, get amazing perks, $4.99 per month. Hit that join button, you get exclusive content, review requests like this one, banner reviews, and much more. Have an awesome night. We will see you guys in the next video for Album Ranking Wednesdays. Have a great night.